knowing that I started and finished a novel. Young Amber D will be so proud of me right now. I finished, I did it. And I am so proud of myself. Hey girl, hey, it's me, Amber D, and thank you so much for coming through for another video. If you haven't already, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, girl, so I have a little confession to make. I've actually been keeping a secret from you. And you know that I am a firm believer that just because you are a vlogger or a lifestyle content creator that you have to share every detail of your life. I do not believe you have to. I do not believe that you should. And this is actually something that I would normally share with you, but I wanted to wait until just the right time. And that time is now. So for the past 2 months, I have been writing a book. I wrote a romance novel. Girl, I wrote a whole book and I am super excited, very proud of myself, but it was very much a journey. It was very much a journey. It's crazy because it was just one random Monday. I remember I was starting off a vlog and I was in the kitchen, like getting my breakfast and getting myself together to leave and get ready to go to work. And I remember saying to you, I was like, oh girl, I'm getting ready to go to work, but I don't feel like it. I don't want to, or something like that. All right, girl. So it's Monday. I'm just getting ready to head out to work and I don't feel like it. I really don't. I really don't. I don't feel like going to work today. But since these bills insist on coming every month, I'm gonna go ahead and go. But like I said, I got my ass out the door and went on to work. And it was that day at work. And I was like, you know what? This cannot be life. I cannot just continue to get up and go to work every day for the next 20 plus years until I hit retirement. It's like, this is not it. This is not life for me. And I was like, even if I'm never able to get to the point where I'm doing something I love that will support me financially, I at least have to get to the point where I'm doing something I love every single day. And I was sitting at my desk at work thinking about this. And the first thing that popped into my mind was writing a book. You love reading, you love writing, go ahead and write your book. So that day at work, I started doing I started doing my Googles. I started doing my research. I did my due diligence. I was like, if I'm going to be for real this time, if I'm going to really be serious about writing this book, regardless of what I do with it after I finish, I need to figure out what it is that's keeping me from finishing the books. I've had these great ideas for books before, and I'll kind of sit down and get started at chapter 1 and start, you know, writing everything out, typing everything out, and I'll get to maybe chapter 2 or 3 before I get stuck and I just really couldn't figure out how to move the story forward, you know, just out of this great idea that was in my head. How do I actually get this to be a complete novel? I would always get stuck. And so I was doing my research on how to structure a book, how to write the timeline, the guidelines for a book, how many chapters should it have, like how long should it be, like all these things. And I found a lot of information on how to structure a book, the different ways to structure. And there were actually lots of different ways. And I looked through and I kind of decided on the one that I felt would be best for me, or at least starting out. And I figured out a way that got me really excited for this time around. It got me really excited to try writing a book again. So it was a Monday. I got home from work. You know, I'm off on Tuesdays. So that night, I stayed up late and I kind of wrote out the little idea that I had for a book. And then I wrote out the structure that I had learned earlier in the day at work, how I wanted to structure my book. Before I went to bed that night, I had my full book structured out from beginning to end. I had everything set exactly how I wanted it to be. I had everything figured out, what each chapter was going to be about, in order to move my story forward from Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, from the plot, the twist, the climax, the conclusion. I had everything figured out from beginning to end. And I spent the next few days just kind of making sure I had everything together, and I started writing my book that following week. After I finished Act 1, I was so incredibly excited. I was happy to have ever gotten that far in my book writing process. And that first act was very much me figuring out my process as a writer, as a novelist, you know, getting into the groove of the book itself. Those first chapters were very choppy. A few of them I would start at the beginning of the chapter and I would kind of get stuck maybe in the middle somewhere. So I would skip to maybe part of the dialogue in the chapter that I already knew in my head how I wanted that to go. So I would get that part out and then I would kind of go in and fill in the blanks on different areas until I had at least enough for a full chapter, knowing that I would go back again later. But that first act, those first 9 chapters, was pretty choppy, but I got through it. I got through it because I knew what each chapter was going to be about. So I knew I just kind of had to go in and make that idea for that chapter a full chapter. So I did that. I worked on 1 chapter a day, just 1 chapter a day, and every day that I was off. So every Tuesday that I was off, every other Thursday that I was off, every other Saturday morning that I was off, every other Sunday that I wasn't braiding hair and I was off, I was writing a chapter. And so the first 9 chapters took me about 3 weeks, I want to say, to get through, maybe 2.5 weeks or something like that. And I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling really, really good. Hey girl, it is Saturday, July 27th, I think, something like that. And I just finished Act 1 of my first romance novel. And I'm so excited. I'm so proud of myself. I have never gotten this far in my romance novel journey. So I'm super excited. I'm super, super, super excited. I'm proud of myself. And to be completely honest with you, girl, it's really good. It's good. Like, it's really good. If I'm reading this book, I will be excited to see what happens next. I'm going to be honest. It's really good. I'm excited to finish. Like I said, I've never gotten this far in my romance novel journey. I've started and stopped a couple times, but I've never set myself up for success the way I have this time. So It's turning out really good. I'm ahead of schedule and I'm really excited to finish. Girl, by the time I finished Act 2, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was so excited. I felt really good in the direction the book was going. I felt really good as a writer. And, you know, I just kind of really felt like I had really kind of found my groove. And those Act 1, when those really choppy chapters to get through, you know, some of the days it took me a good 2 to 3 hours to get through one chapter. By the time I got through with Act 2, I was down to maybe about an hour and a half to get through one chapter. I was doing really good. My process was getting quicker, and I didn't feel like anything was, I didn't feel like I was rushing through anything, as I felt like I was getting better and I was moving faster, but I was still making my chapters beefier. Like I knew going back in the editing process, by the time I got towards the end of Act 2, I wouldn't have to do too much. I wouldn't have to add too much, at least to those chapters, like I would have to add to the ones in the first act, because I knew I was just trying to get through those chapters. But by Act 2, I really had my groove down, and I felt really, really, really good about my process as a writer. Hey girl, it is Thursday, August 15th, and I just finished writing chapter 18 of my book, which wraps up Act 2, which means I am officially 2/3 of the way finished with my book, and I am so proud of myself. I am so incredibly proud of myself. At this point, I have no doubt that I will actually finish the book and get this novel completed and be able to check this off of my life's to-do list. So I'm really, 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 really proud of myself with my progress, the progress that I've made. Like I said, I've never come this far in my novel writing process. So I'm really excited to be here right now. But more importantly, I feel like I'm really excited with how good the book is. It's so good. It's really, really good. I can't wait to finish. And I feel like right now at this point, having just finished chapter 18, I can already tell that I've grown as a writer, as an author, than where I was when I just finished chapter 1. I can see my growth as an author. So I'm excited to finish and get through chapter 27 and get through the whole entire book and see how much more I've grown then. And then to be able to take all that knowledge and that growth back to the beginning when I'm rereading and revising and editing everything, and then to be able to make the book that much better than how good I feel like it already is. I'm super excited, and I'm just so proud of myself. Hey girl, it is Tuesday, September 3rd, and I just finished Act 3 of my book, which means I have finished my book. My book is done, and I completed my goal. I started my book. I started my romance novel, and my main goal was to complete it, and I have done that. I've started chapter 1, and I completed chapter 27. I am so excited. I am so incredibly excited. Like, just sitting here knowing that I started and finished a novel. Young Amber D will be so proud of me right now. Like, I'm so serious. A young Amber D, little bitty baby Amber D that just barely learned how to read, barely learned how to put her first sentence together. And all I wanted to do after that was write. I wanted to write and write and write. And I always loved reading stories, and I always wanted to write my own story, and I just did. I dreamed up these characters. I imagined their whole story, and I wrote a novel around something that I imagined up in my head, and it's a real thing now. Ooh, girl. Girl, like, I did it. I did it. I started so many times and I never finished, and I finished this time. I finished. I did it. And I am so proud of myself. I am so proud of myself. The goal from when I was so young has finally been completed at this big age. I wrote my first novel at age 40, and I don't feel like it's too late. I don't feel like I should have done this sooner. Like, I did it right exactly when I was supposed to, in the perfect timing for me. And I am proud of myself. Whatever happens from here on out, it's just icing on the cake. I set out to start and finish this book, and I did, and I'm so proud of myself. And it's good. It's really, really good, girl. So we'll see. Whatever happens next, just like I said, it'll be icing on the cake, because my main goal was to start and finish, and I did that. Goal complete, check, bucket list item, done. Girl, by the time I actually finished, I got emotional that day. I'm so glad I captured that moment, because that means so much to me. Like, finally being able to finish, to complete a story, a love story at that. Baby Amber D would be so incredibly proud. And just knowing at this point in life that I finished, if I could go back and tell her anything, I honestly, like I said in the clip, I don't feel like I would have changed anything about my own personal story, because yes, it took me longer to actually write a book, to actually write a novel. It took me longer than I thought it would. As long as I've loved books, and as many times as I tried before, I thought I would have had a book finished by now, or several even. But like I said, I don't feel like I took too long. I don't feel like I waited too long, or that I could have been doing this years ago. Yes, maybe I could have been, but I'm doing it right now, and I'm very excited about where I am right now. I feel excited about where I am as a writer, how much I've grown from chapter 1 to chapter 27, how much I've grown going back and re-editing my work. It just feels really good to be this far, and I'm excited to see how much further I can go in my writer and my author process. Right now I am doing the final edits of my book. I've submitted to my beta editors and got some feedback, and I'm working on the final revisions, the final edits, so I can submit for copywriting. In the meantime, I've been working on my book cover. Husband and I did a photo shoot for my official author headshot that's going to go in the back of my book and on my author website, which I've also been working on. I've decided to self-publish. There's a lot of different self-publishing options, which I did my research on as well. And I decided to go with the Amazon KDP program for authors that are self-publishing. I feel like it's a really good option for me, especially starting out with, this is my first book, my first novel that I'm publishing outside of my own actual website. So I think it's a really good option for me. And I'm excited to really get this process to the next step. Right now I have my book, I'm editing, and I'm excited to get it to the point where it's out there for the public to see. So my book is called Late Night Vibes, and it's set in the small fictional town of Amaretto, Texas. And I thought that was a super cute name for a city, a fictional city where a love story takes place. Amaretto is spelled several different ways. There's like the drink mixer amaretto, and then there's amaretto that is another word for Cupid. So I figured that was a perfect name for a city where a love story takes place. But it's a fictional city in Texas, which is actually where I'm from. And I am super excited for you to read it. When I first started writing, my goal was just to finish. I didn't know if it was just going to be something that I kept for myself that I would kind of go back and read every now and again, or if it was something that I would just share with certain people, or self-publish, or try to find a publisher. I didn't know what I was going to do when I first started writing. I just knew I wanted to finish. And by the time I finished Act 2, I knew that this was something I wanted to get out to the public. And by the time I finished Act 3, I knew I wanted to self-publish. So that's definitely the route that I'm going, and I'm excited about what's next in this journey. Like I said, I've done my photo shoot. I've been working on my book cover. And I've also been working on my website, amberdwrites.com, and you can find all the information about my books released there. You can sign up for my email list so that you'll know when it's available for pre-order. It just feels so good to know that this is a real thing. This idea that popped into my head one random day, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and now it's a full novel. It's an actual book, and it will be available soon for the world to see. And I'm excited about entering this new chapter. No pun intended. I'm excited to see where this author journey will take me. I definitely plan to write more books. So definitely stay tuned for everything that's coming. But to start off, my first book, Late Night Vibes, will be available December of this year. And like I said, check out my website, amberdwrites.com, for all the juicy details, the actual release date, when it'll be available for pre-order, and all the information about any and upcoming works that I have, you'll be able to find there. So please check it out. And like I said, sign up for my email list. But yeah, girl, I am super excited. I'm very proud of myself, and I cannot wait to share more of this with you. It feels so good to have finally shared it with you. But thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. I appreciate all of your continued support. If you haven't already, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.